Translator, Dark Angel. Editor Kurisu Ling. Han pondered only briefly, and in that blink of contemplation, he had already grasped the crucial hinge of the matter. Li Hao had succeeded in stepping into Huyang Academy, and from that moment on, his road ahead could be called radiant and boundless. The Zhu clan naturally had to fear that. After beholding the imperial city's dazzling splendor and extravagant airs, Li Hao might have his heart swayed. Thus, they had sent Zhu Xueyi to follow him here. Yet this pair seemed to have at last pierced through that final thin veil between them, and so their bond now flowed as smoothly as water. Seeing this, Ling Han nodded inwardly and felt joy for them as well. Big Brother Ling, after I entered the academy, I kept searching for you, but I couldn't find you anywhere, Li Hao said, his tone carrying a trace of guilt. Ling Han threw back his head and laughed, then teased. You probably didn't search all that hard, did you? Always stuck together with Shui Yi, all lovey-dovey, so naturally you never managed to find me, right? Li Hao's face instantly flushed crimson. Between him and Zhu Xueyi, their feelings had once been no more than a hazy, indistinct fondness, and neither had dared speak openly of it. But after reaching the imperial city, with only each other to rely on and home far, far behind, their affection naturally surged, so much that they wished for nothing more than to cling together at every moment. Big Brother Ling, you're always teasing people, Zhu Xueyi said, acting coquettish and spoiled, neatly dispersing the awkwardness weighing on Li Hao's heart. Li Hao smiled faintly. His own temperament was somewhat wooden, slow of tongue and sparse of words, while Zhu Xueyi was lively and bright. The two of them could naturally make up for each other's shortcomings. Yi, poor fool? Just at that moment, a light Yi sounded from behind them, and a young man strode over quickly. It was the young master of the Kong clan. When his gaze landed on Ling Han, a cold smirk crept onto his lips, and he said, "What a coincidence to run into you here!" He had been tricked out of 100 silver coins by Ling Han. Though such a paltry sum meant nothing to him, the true crux was that it left him displeased. Yet because Shu Kei-shin had suddenly intervened back then, he hadn't managed to find Ling Han and settle this grudge. Young Master Kong, who is this fellow? A gorgeously dressed woman leaned in close, nestling into young Master Kong's arms as she cast him a coy glance. Oh, just a poor fool, young Master Kong said with a casual wave, his gaze full of disdain. Who are you calling a poor fool? Li Hao, hot-blooded as young men are, couldn't restrain himself from snapping back. Young Master Kong swept his eyes over Li Hao and Zhu Xueyi, and contempt gathered on his face as he said, You two have only just arrived in the Imperial City, haven't you? How did you know? Li Hao blurted out. Haha, just look at that country bumpkin air clinging to you. Obviously, you crawled out of some rural, out-of-the-way place. The contempt on young Master Kong's face deepened, his gaze pinned Zhu Xueyi, and he said, Still, this village girl doesn't look too bad. If she were dressed up properly, she might still be worth playing with. How dare you? There was no way Li Hao could tolerate his beloved being insulted like that. In a flash, he raised his fist and drove a punch toward young Master Kong. Ah! The beautiful girl immediately screamed. Step aside! Young Master Kong shoved the beautiful girl away and lifted both hands to meet Li Hao's strike. Peng, peng, peng! In an instant, the two were locked in blows. Li Hao stood at the 4th layer of element-gathering tier, while young Master Kong was at the 5th. In theory, young Master Kong should have been stronger. Yet his cultivation was clearly piled up through resources, his martial foundation unstable and hollow. From the look of it, young Master Kong's battle prowess was merely 4 stars. Thus, the two were evenly matched. Their fight raged fiercely, yet neither could seize the upper hand. Ha! Never thought a village boy would have a bit of ability. Young Master Kong roared with laughter. Country boy, how about lending me your woman to play with for a few days? Don't think it's a loss. With my careful teaching, your woman will learn all sorts of moves and let a country boy like you taste something new. Hearing his woman insulted once more, Li Hao's eyes turned red. In fury, he drew his saber and slashed toward young Master Kong. What a good brat! You actually dare use weapons against me! Young Master Kong snorted coldly, drew his own sword, and met Li Hao's saber head-on. Li Hao let out a furious roar, and a streak of saber chi burst forth like an enraged dragon, twisting and surging as it swept toward young Master Kong. Young Master Kong's fifth layer of element-gathering tier had been forced up. How could he possibly defend against Saber Chi? Panic instantly flashed across his face. In only a few moves, Li Hao's Saber Chi had already carved multiple wounds across his body, making him cry out in pain. "Stop! Stop!" he shouted in fear, hastily calling for a ceasefire. He was no man of indomitable will. "Apologize." Li Hao withdrew his saber and barked at young Master Kong. Young Master Kong's face turned ashen. To make him apologize to a country bumpkin, if others learned of it, what would become of his reputation? Yet this country bumpkin was clearly a rash brat. If he collided head-on, it was truly possible he would suffer even more. Just as he was about to temporarily bow his head to the situation, his eyes swept the surroundings, and at once joy bloomed across his face. He shouted, "Big Brother Tan, save me!" A tall, slender young man was walking toward them at an unhurried pace. This newcomer was quite handsome, and every movement overflowed with confidence. His name was Tan Wei Chi, a young clansman of one of the imperial city's middle-class clans. Within the imperial city, there were only 8 great clans. To qualify as a great clan, one had to have a spiritual pedestal tier elite overseeing the clan. Middle-class clans were far more numerous, for they only needed a spiritual ocean tier elite within their ranks. As for minor clans, they were countless, and merely required a gushing spring tier martial artist to be considered a minor clan. Though others respectfully called Kong Wen Hui Young Master, the truth was that he came only from a minor clan. The Kong clan was deeply involved in business and commerce. Thus, while they did not produce many elite martial artists, they possessed substantial wealth. So much that they were even richer than a large number of middle-class clans. Therefore, Kong Wen Hui knew quite a number of young masters from various middle-class clans. This was also his capital. At first, Tan Wei Chi did not recognize Kong Wen Hui, for the latter looked truly miserable at the moment. Only after taking a closer look did Tan Wei Chi recognize him. Shock flickered across his face as he asked, "Kong Wen Hui?" "Big Brother Tan, it's me." Kong Wen Hui replied, his face twisted in a miserable scowl. "Why do you look so wretched?" Tan Wei Chi couldn't help but burst into laughter, because he had already seen that Kong Wen Hui's opponent was merely at the 4th layer of element gathering tier. Kong Wen Hui glared viciously at Li Hao and said, "It's this country bumpkin. Just because he managed to form a flash of Saber Chi, he dares to be arrogant in the Imperial City." "Oh?" Tan Wei Chi glanced at Li Hao, and a hint of disdain rose in his eyes. With a single look, he could tell this was an outsider. That rural air was practically slapping him in the face. As men born of Imperial City clans, whether Kong Wen Hui or Tan Wei Chi, both carried an innate arrogance and pride, and looked down on anyone from beyond the Imperial City. "Country bumpkin, kneel and kowtow to apologize," Tan Wei Chi immediately said darkly to Li Hao, not even bothering to ask how their conflict had begun. Naturally, he had no qualms. What background could a mere country bumpkin possibly have in the Imperial City? Li Hao did not dare be the slightest bit careless. The pressure emanating from this person far surpassed what he had felt from Kong Wen Hui. This one was at least in the late stage of element gathering tier. Even if his Saber Chi could forcibly raise his battle prowess by another star, he still would not be a match for the 7th layer of element gathering tier and above. Unless Tan Wei Chi was the same as Kong Wen Hui, possessing only cultivation level, but lacking stable foundations. A mere 4th layer of element gathering tier martial artist, I could dominate you with a single finger. Tan Wei Chi snorted coldly and declared arrogantly, "I am at the 9th layer of element gathering tier." Li Hao's expression changed drastically. Even if this newcomer's cultivation was also built without proper foundations, the 9th layer of element gathering tier would still possess at least 7 battle stars of prowess, and would still be in a position to utterly dominate him. "Big Brother Hao, let's just forget it," Zhu Sheyi spoke up. Although Ling Han, with his present battle prowess, need not fear any martial artist at the 9th layer of element gathering tier, this was still the Imperial City after all. Who knew what kind of background these people truly came from? Translator, Dark Angel, Kurisu. "Ha! Ha! So you lot do understand what proper manners are." Tan Wei Chi let out a frosty laugh, his voice sharp as ice. "Then drop to your knees and beg pardon." "We can apologize, but we will never kneel." Li Hao ground the words out between clenched teeth. This was already the greatest retreat he could make, and if not for Zhu Shuiyi, he would rather spill blood to the last breath. A shadowy look flashed across Tan Weiqi's face. He had already opened his mouth, yet this brat actually dared refuse him? Indeed, he did not dare to kill anyone. In the imperial city, who would dare commit murder? A brawl, however, was still acceptable. Even if he maimed his opponent with the Tan clan behind him, everything could be smoothed over with ease. Besides, against a country bumpkin like this, one glance was enough to tell the fellow had no noteworthy backing. So what if he bullied and crushed this rustic? You're only courting suffering like this. Tan Weiqi snorted, and the might of a ninth-layer element-gathering tier expert surged outward, pressing down upon Li Hao like a mountain. Li Hao bared his teeth and forced himself to withstand the weight head-on, yet veins bulged continuously across his forehead. This pressure was truly too heavy. Hehe, it's fine if you don't want to kneel, as long as your girlfriend takes off all her clothes and dances for us. We're all forgiving people here. We'll even give you a way out. Kong Wenhui said with a leering snicker. Zhu Shuiyi shuddered. She did want to help Li Hao settle the matter, but if she truly stripped in public, how would she ever face Li Hao in the future? Oh, so you two enjoy watching someone dance naked that much? Ling Han finally spoke, his expression cool as winter water. Yet in his heart, anger had already risen. When he befriended someone, he never cared whether they were strong or weak, nor what sort of background they came from. They could not possibly be stronger than what he had been in his previous life, anyway. Li Hao and Zhu Shuiyi had fought at his side more than once. They could be considered old comrades. A person like him protected his own people to the hilt. The only reason he had not interfered earlier was simply because he wanted to see just how far these two would go in seeking their own death. Haha, I'm only interested in watching women dance naked, not men. Even if you want to dance naked, I won't watch. Kong Wenhui stared at Zhu Shuiyi. Though beauties of her level were not rare in the imperial city, there were very few who were also in element-gathering tier. And any element-gathering tier woman in the imperial city was not someone he could casually meddle with. Thus, his blood ran hot, and a fierce urge to conquer such a woman surged within him. Then dance in the street like this, 1 hour of naked dancing, and I will consider the matter settled, Ling Han said evenly. Ha! Ha! Tan Weiqi and Kong Wenhui exchanged a look, then burst into wild laughter. They laughed until they were nearly in tears. This truly was a country bumpkin, used to throwing his weight around in some tiny place, thinking this was also his territory. Heng, this is the imperial city. If a dragon comes, it must coil. If a tiger comes, it must lie prone. Brat, you really are naive. Tan Weiqi shook his head. I think he's more of an idiot, Kong Wenhui sneered. Big brother Ling, forget it. Let's just go. Zhu Shuiyi said in a low voice. The waters of the imperial city ran far too deep. At every turn there were experts in gushing spring, even spiritual ocean tier, certainly not people that small-town newcomers like them could afford to provoke. You still think you can leave? Kong Wenhui wanted to wash away his earlier cowardice, and with Tan Weiqi at his side, he said coldly, Didn't you hear me tell you to dance naked? I've changed my mind. Now all three of you will dance naked. Let's go. Don't bother with them. Zhu Shuiyi and Li Hao both tugged at Ling Han's arm. They were terrified. Ling Han's youthful temper would flare and he would come to blows with these two. After all, they were local bullies of the imperial city. Who knew what terrifying background they carried? However, this was still territory under the Emperor's direct jurisdiction. No matter what, they would not dare truly beat Huyang Academy students senseless. Ling Han smiled and said, Where would we go? I promised someone I would meet them inside. He pointed toward the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. Brag. Keep bragging. Tan Weiqi cut in. Country bumpkin, do you even know what kind of place this is? This is Cherishing Flower Pavilion. Without status high enough, no matter how much money you have, you still won't be able to step through those doors. Li Hao and Zhu Shuiyi nodded inwardly. They had both heard of Cherishing Flower Pavilion. It truly was a hallmark of the imperial city, serving only that particular group at the very peak of the social ladder. No matter how wealthy ordinary people were, they could not enter. But of course they would not expose Ling Han, though both of them agreed that Ling Han must be stubbornly putting on airs. "That's right. Even I don't have the privilege to enter," Kong Wenhui cried out. Though the Kong clan was indeed rich, their strongest clansmen were only at Gushing Spring tier. If he wished to enter Cherishing Flower Pavilion, he would at least need the backing of a spiritual ocean tier elite. "Country bumpkin, stop acting stubborn. Hurry and take off your clothes and dance. Then go back to your village and farm," he laughed loudly. Ling Han's eyes turned icy. Now he was truly angered. "Yi, why is young Master Han standing outside?" At that moment, a sweet, melodious female voice drifted over, and from within Cherishing Flower Pavilion, a crimson-haired beauty walked out. Her figure was exquisitely shapely, and she carried a captivating, hypnotic charm. It was the beauty who was always at the third Imperial Prince's side. Her name was Ziyan. Yo! When Kong Wenhui's eyes fell on her, they lit up. How could he know she belonged to the third Imperial Prince? He thought she was merely one of Cherishing Flower Pavilion's attendants, and could not help but blurt foolishly, "Beauty, how much for one night? Hey, it's fine, even if the two of us share you, right? Price is no issue." The crimson-haired beauty's eyes narrowed instantly, and a dark killing intent spilled out from her at once. "Pa!" Tan Wei-Chi's hand rose and fell, delivering Kong Wenhui a heavy slap as he cursed. "Bastard, if you want to die, don't drag me with you." Then he hurriedly bowed toward the crimson-haired beauty and said, "Greetings, Miss Ziyan." Kong Wenhui had no idea why he had been slapped, but he was not an idiot. Seeing the beads of sweat covering Tan Wei-Chi's forehead, he could guess this. Miss Ziyan had a background so formidable, it was at least greater than the Tan clan behind Tan Wei-Chi. Ziyan paid them no attention. She turned to Ling Han instead and asked with a sweet smile, "Young Master Han, do you have some conflict with these two?" Hiss! Tan Wei-Chi had already been shivering with fear, and now his heart tightened even further. The first time Ziyan called Young Master Han, he had not thought she was addressing Ling Han because he did not know Ling Han's name. Moreover, he never believed a country bumpkin was worthy of being personally received by a favored person of the third Imperial Prince, someone who even addressed him as Young Master Han. But this time, Miss Ziyan was facing Ling Han directly, addressing him so clearly. "It's over. It's all over." For even Miss Ziyan to be this respectful, it proved this brat must have an overwhelmingly powerful background. Tan Wei-Chi felt his whole body about to collapse, unable to control his legs from trembling. He almost did not even have the strength to remain standing. Kong Wenhui, however, was not nearly as frightened because he did not know who Ziyan was. As the saying goes, ignorance is bliss. Li Hao and Zhu Shieyi were also shocked. They did not know who this young woman was, but the instant she appeared, she forced Tan Wei-Chi to lower his head, so she clearly came from a terrifying background. Yet, even so, she still addressed Ling Han as Young Master Han. Ling Han had only been in the imperial city a few days, and he had already climbed to such a lofty rung of the social ladder? Ling Han smiled faintly and said, "These two humiliated my friends." Ziyan's beautiful face turned cold at once. Her gaze swept over Tan Wei-Chi and Kong Wenhui, and the aura of a Gushing Spring tier elite rolled outward, making the hearts of those two pound madly, almost ready to burst from their throats. "Are you not going to apologize to young Master Han and his friends?"